Hi, and welcome to Speakers on Edge 15 Minutes of Fame. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Debbie. Debbie, who are you?
Well, I have a story to tell you so you can get the whole journey. And what I like to say is buckle up because it has some nice highs and some nice lows, but God has seen me through each step of it. And so, what I want you to imagine is have you ever had a dream where you could see every detail of exactly how it was supposed to go? Well, I did. And my dream was to be a young grandma. Now, I'm a pretty smart girl and I get things done. So I knew I had to find a guy, fall in love, get married, have children, and then I could be a young grandma. And it all started just perfect. In college, I found the guy, fell in love, got married, it was perfect. Check, check, check. And then the hard part, infertility. 4 years of nothing, nothing. And then finally, we got pregnant. And when we got pregnant, we had an attempted miscarriage, but then we got the surprise of our lives. We were pregnant with quads. Yes, not one, two, three, but four babies all at once. I was shocked. But at the same time, I was ecstatic because that meant I was back on track to young grandma. And here's the deal, the goal became to get those kids to 30 weeks. 30 weeks. That's not so easy. I mean, think about it for a second. I mean, how many of you have ever eaten 4 or 5 all day, each meal, all the time? Not so easy, right? And you know what? The fog began to roll in. At 26 weeks, I found myself standing in water. One of the baby sacks had ruptured and they admitted me to the hospital. I stayed overnight, and the next morning, contractions came crashing in. One of the babies had stuck his hand through my stitched cervix and was waving to the world, "Hello, I'm coming." I was shocked. It was too soon. I looked at the doctor. I begged the doctor, "Can you please stop this? Just push that hand back in and let's forget that it ever happened." And she looked at me and shook her head no. Now I closed my eyes. I breathed and I resolved myself to figure my way through. They whisked me off into surgery and then back into the room to wait. And a little while later, little Zach arrived and they placed Zach in my arms. And that little boy, he took his hand and he wrapped it around my finger and he squeezed as if to say, "Mom, I am here. I love you." And I held him and I rocked him and I loved him until he drifted off into eternity. And then with empty arms, we waited. And that fog, it began to rise. A little while later, the question became, would my body be able to carry the other three, or would my body reject them? Time passed and I got sicker and sicker. And the doctor walked into the room and she put her hand on my shoulder and she quietly said, "You have to induce." I looked up at her for some sliver of hope, just a sliver. And she shook her head no again. I breathed and resolved again to figure my way. A little while later, Josh, Nate, and Chris arrived on the scenes and they placed each one of them in my arms and I held them and I rocked them and I loved them until they drifted off into eternity. That day, you see, We lost our boys, our quads, and with empty arms and broken hearts. Not only did we lose our boys, we lost the dream of being a young grandma, the person I thought I was supposed to be. And that day, grief did not come in politely. It barged in, rearranged the room, and dared me to keep breathing. And I didn't know what to do. I pleaded, I begged God, can you please just give me an answer? Give me a plan, a roadmap. I don't understand. And he whispered, you don't need the whole plan. I need you to trust me. I got you. Take the next best step. Honestly, that was not what I wanted. I wanted like a burning bush or a Google Doc straight from heaven to me. But what I've learned is that legacy, it actually begins in the fog, right there. Because you see, what I didn't realize was that God wasn't finished yet. Matter of fact, he wasn't even close to done. After losing the boys, we adopted 9 children. 9. Yes, that's like a baseball team. Our family is one amazing, messy, beautiful, redemptive masterpiece. And he still wasn't done. God wasn't done. He actually birthed out of that fog and pain, he birthed something new. It was a ministry called Anchor Point. It says, I started a nonprofit. I don't even know anything about nonprofits. I'm an engineer. But what I know is one faithful, obedient next step became 2, and then 3, and then 20. And today I get to lead a team, speak into a mission, and invest in legacies I might never see. And it all started in that fog. And what I found is that most of us don't realize it, but in the course of our lives, we will experience at least 3 major life disruptions that radically shift our sense of direction. We don't plan for those and we don't even see them coming a lot of times. But the truth is, that is where legacy lives. Now, if we're honest, your fog might not be the same as mine. Maybe it's burnout. Maybe it's fatigue. Maybe it's just you're overwhelmed. But recent studies show that over 72% of entrepreneurs suffer from mental health challenges. Some of those are 37% burnout, 36% anxiety, 10% panic attacks. And the other 28%, they just haven't checked their cell phone today. And here's the deal. I didn't become the young grandma I dreamed of. I became something better because I learned to take the next step and to keep on moving. I became a mom, a grandmother of 15, a mom of 9, a founder of a ministry I never saw coming, a best-selling author, an international speaker, but more than any of that, I am a woman that knows legacy is not built in the spotlight. It is built in the fog. So as my friends, as we go through our day, we know that the fog will come, but it is not here to stop you. It is here to make you, to build you. So my friend, I want us to continue on and take each next step. And so what God has opened up the doors for me is now I get to invest in others. I recently wrote a book called The Heart of Legacy. And it is about my story, but it's about also encouraging each one of us to be focused, faithful, and fearless. And I have that as a gift for you today. You can go to the Heart of Legacy and get it for free. And then I have the wonderful opportunity of coaching people and leading them and helping them figure out, how do I go from stuck to unstuck for good so that I can be the person that I've been called to be the mom, to be the grandma, to be the CEO, to be all of those things. And so today, my encouragement is that we would know how to take those next best steps, and we would do it bravely.
I'm sitting here spellbound. I'm absolutely spellbound. Your story has, yeah, it touches me because I've also had that experience of the miscarriage in my relationships.
Mm,
I've also had 3 major lifestyle
mm,
changes.
mhm.
I moved from New Zealand to Australia. I then went from Australia to Ukraine. And 3 years ago, when the war started, from Ukraine to Poland.
Mm.
And each time I have transformed, each time I have changed. But your change is a little bit more than I could have imagined, because here you are blessing these gifts to eternity.
Mhm.
And it was probably one of the darkest times of your life. Heartbreaking.
Mhm.
And it turned into 9 adopted children, and was it 15 grandchildren?
So far, I'm hoping to get some more, though.
Okay, I'm just going to bow down to Saint Debbie. Oh, are you the grandma that sets up your own children? You know, you feed the grandkids sugar and you get them a drum set and guitars and noise making devices, or are you the absolute gift of life grandma who just cooks and cares for everyone?
Well, if you knew me really well, you would know I don't really cook that well, but, I do I do, have a lot of fun, and I absolutely love being with my grandkids, so it is a joy. However, I have been known to give them sugar sometimes, but we're pretty careful with that, but I love to send them home with things that would drive me crazy in the house long term. I let them take that to their house.
That to me is the ultimate fun of being a grandparent, is that
Yes, for
you finally get the revenge on your own kids for the torturing that they gave you.
Yeah, so it is fun, and they're beautiful kids, and it is a blessing to be able to hang with those grandkids. They make me young, and so I
Yeah,
love it.
they certainly do. What were
Mhm.
the ages of your children that you adopted?
The youngest child that I adopted was going on 6, and the oldest child was going on 13, and they were 3 different adoptions, and it was 3 sibling groups that we got together over a period of years.
That's awesome.
Mhm,
The sibling groups. I mean, to me, that's such a blessing for
mhm,
those siblings to
mhm,
be to be adopted together,
mhm.
and then
Yeah,
for
the
them to become such a big family.
Yes, and so they were it was definitely, it's definitely the blended of blended families that you can find, but, the first sibling group was a group of 5, and it was like moving in a basketball team, and then when we added the second ones, it added a layer of complexity, because we all have trauma, but we also all have to figure out how to relate to each other, and then the third one, that kind of created the thing. So we're finally down to just one child in the house getting ready to launch. And now we do grandkids. So that's how we do it around here.
Wow, so Thanksgiving and Christmas must be absolutely fantastic in your household.
Well, it's very busy, and if they're all getting along, it's wonderful. If they're not getting along, it's kinda chaotic. But we
and
work it out.
and that to me is probably the most important message. You've created a legacy. I mean, legacy is such an important part of your whole
Mhm,
being today,
mhm.
and that legacy was created from a dream,
Yeah. Mhm.
but it
Yeah.
wasn't created the way you planned it.
Yeah. And I would tell you the other thing I've learned, really, really learned, is that, we are all going to leave a legacy. Some of us will just fall into it, but when I was holding the boys in the hospital, everything became about eternity and I wanted to be super intentional. So as part of the reason for writing the book is because I want us to learn to live our legacies now and leave them for later. But if we don't live them now, and creating the ministry and doing all these things that I've been able to do, then we'll just fall into some legacy. So I want us to be intentional because there is just too much in each one of us. There's so many good stories to bring each other along. There's so many things that we can do that can impact this world in a positive way if we live our legacy now. And that is really the heart of the book and my heartbeat for people.
Debbie, you have been an incredible guest on the 15 Minutes of Fame today. People will find you through not only your web address that you've spoken about earlier, but we'll have your photo on our website with a button that links directly to you so
Okay,
people
great.
can get your book.
Mhm.
I want to thank you for being Saint Debbie.
Yes, it's my
And
my pleasure. I try and do my best.
and so that's it for Speakers on Edge. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.